I have not been to Minnesota in probably 20 years.
Bring gas. Welcome to Flagrant Howls, a Minnesota Timberwolves lifestyle podcast.
There he is. He's grinding, folks. He's been on a bunch of planes. His voice is at like 35%. Say hi to the people. 35% voice, Kyle.
I think the voice is getting better, but I am on so many different like narcotics and drugs right now, so I'm just really hoping I get through this one without being canceled. But every day I wake up, it's just more and more exciting right now. So no pity for me. I'm sorry I sound like a nicotine sponsor, but I woke up today and I had some real basketball questions for you after. And I should thank you because people don't know this, but I was really on edge about going to game 4, and you're like, you got to go. And I sat by you. So if you get sick, my apologies. But 48 hours later, I wasn't in Denver for that closeout game 7. I know a lot of our friends were, so I can't comment on that. But game 4, Wolves, Lakers, we don't have a long list of these things, but I came away from that one waking up Monday morning being like, that was maybe the most fun game I've ever been to in my life. What do you think?
For so many, because I wasn't at game. I was watching Game 7 Denver on TV.
Yeah,
I wasn't at Game 7 second round Kings 21 years ago. I was watching that with college buddies in the dorms. So like those would be like the two greatest games, Game 7s in Timberwolves history. So but in terms of being in the arena, and we'll get into a bunch of different, some of our favorite things from the experience, but. Yeah, like Anthony Edwards completely taking over, not only in the box score and with the playmaking down the stretch, but him deciding, I'm going to start punking LeBron. I'm going to start sending these little subliminal messages too. So we'll get to a bunch of different things here as we count down the days until Game 5. A shout out to Brixworth in the North Loop. Brixworth continues to be an awesome partner for us here at Flagrant Howls and Score North. And a great place if you're a Wolves fan to belly up for an away game potentially this week. When they come back home, it's the place to gather before and after home games too. And if you see our guy Cooper, who runs the joint, say hi to him and maybe sip one of those signature Nas Reed hazy IPAs that they're slinging at Brixworth. And the North Loop Brixworth location, super close to Target Center, just steps down the sidewalk. And there's also some cheaper options to park over there too if you want to get creative. And maybe just kind of sneak out the side door of downtown Minneapolis. So check them out, Brixworth in the North Loop. And then one more shout out to Element Hotel too. Element Hotel is pretty much like kitty corner across the street from Brixworth. And again, just down the street from Target Center. And you can get a 15% room rate discount when you go to scorenorth.com/element. Scorenorth.com/element. This is an awesome hotel, super walkable to the arena, to some of Minneapolis's finest, most popular establishments, restaurants, bars, and they've got attached parking as well, which is only $25 a day. You can go in and out super easily. City views, and now that the weather is warming up, they've got that patio up top, that rooftop, and this might be a great little last-minute place to book if you're coming in from out of town or you've got friends or family gathering and you want to stay downtown for one of these Wolves playoff games. So check them out, Element Hotel in the North Loop. So yeah, what are like a couple things on your mind now that we've had a couple days since to digest that crazy Game 4 at Target Center?
Well, we probably missed the boat on doing the whole 100 humans versus one gorilla thing. So I'll save my takes.
We did do a 15-minute deep dive with Jeremiah Searles and Alex Boone on the O-Line Committee podcast today. So if you're wondering what two like human gorillas think about fighting a silverback, you could check that out.
I guess you could do like, could 100 ants beat a gorilla? That'd be a fun pod. We'll save that for the summer. No, just, it was a huge weekend for Minnesota sports in general with the draft and the Twins and the Wild and the Timberwolves. But Game 4, that energy in the building, it was cool to like have a victory and then come outside and it was still sunny out. I thought, and a lot of other people that cover this team more close than I do that go to all these games like Johnny K and Dane, they thought that was maybe the loudest the place has ever been. For you and I, sitting in section 112 right in front of our friends, Christian Darrisaw and the rest of the Vikings, mixing it up with them. I mean, it was just such a cool experience. There was the Ant LeBron back and forth. There was that third quarter, which I've already done my piece on towels versus T-shirts and fixing concession stands so that the lower bowl's not empty for the third quarter, but that 14-0 run to start the third quarter where JJ just basically said, I have 5 guys now that I trust. I thought it was a fascinating chess move. And then he just kind of Excel cornered, dragged it all the way out for 24 minutes and just said, how far can I ride these guys? I thought that was fascinating. And then to see Ant start the fourth by hitting those back-to-back threes and being like, all right, I'll put these guys on my shoulder. But then to make what I thought was the game-winning play of something we've been calling for 5 years, and he's been getting better at it, but he draws 2 and then doesn't get any assist or stat, but he finds Nas, who then finds Jaden for the and one. So my big takeaway, I did Kilby's pod yesterday, 3-1. They've looked like the better team. They are the deeper team. They've really answered a lot of questions about this clutch time thing. Like, I thought it was the 44 minutes where the Lakers just wanted to keep it close because then they could pull away in the final 4. It's almost like the Wolves have been like, if we just keep it close for 44 minutes, our depth will help us that final lap. But I sound like Courage, the cowardly dog. I got to see the King completely knocked out before I will start worrying about if I want to play the Rockets or the Warriors. So 3-1, you're in great shape. You guaranteed another home game, whether it be this series or next series. But I think there's still a lot that needs to be done Wednesday night at Staples Center in Game 5. And it'll be interesting to see because I didn't think the Wolves were going to sweep the Suns last year. I thought after they got Game 3, they'd rest on their morals and kind of come back and finish it in 5. But they showed a competitive advantage or an edge that I hadn't seen. I want to see that again on Wednesday in LA.
Yeah. Yeah, that's at the risk of like sounding too haughty here with the Wolves up 3-1. Tell me if I'm off base on this, but it kind of feels to me like I guess the Wolves brought their A punch in Game 1 because they shot like 50% from 3. But Julius Randle had 7 turnovers and Dante DiVincenzo was not great. So that I feel like Game 1 was like their A- game with a couple little things maybe left in the bag. Games 2 through 4 have felt like they've beat the Lakers in 2 of the 3 of those games with like maybe their B+ game maximum. Mm-hmm. Again, DiVincenzo has not gotten going offensively in the series. There's been times where the Wolves will just give up these crazy runs, like a 14-0 run, like you said, to start the second half. But on the flip side, the last 2 games in particular, I know Luka was on his deathbed for Game 3, so I'll give the Lakers that. But the last 2 games, you've had a couple of like throwback LeBron performances where the 38 points he scored in Game 3, that's the second most points he scored in a playoff game in 5 years. So what he's doing at 40 is unprecedented, and he's kind of turning the clock back even more with these like triple-double flirtations. But also, the Lakers have shot at high volume, 87 three-point attempts in the last 2 games, and they've made 41% of them. So they're hitting a ton of threes. Rui Hachimura knocked down like 5 or 6 threes in Game 4 and had 23 points. I just feel like, and the Lakers also emptied the tank with that 5-man lineup that you mentioned in the second half. The only time in the player tracking era going back 30 years that anyone has ever not substituted for a half of playoff basketball. So I just feel like unless the Lakers have another level that we just haven't seen yet, or that no one's projecting, or there's like a Dalton Connect game or something, some crazy thing happens. I think it's more likely that the Lakers get cold from 3-point range at some point, maybe in Game 5, and the Wolves run away with a 20-point victory, than it is that this series goes to a 7th game.
I do think it's interesting that the Lakers are, I think, the biggest favorites they've been in any game this series at home in Game 5. I think they're 5.5-point favorites as of this morning. I'm with you. And again, we get a lot of bleep on this about being homers and stuff, but just I think either side, if you're pretty neutral and you watch these games, and we watch all 82 before, they clearly played the Wolves on a game in Game 1. I don't know if it was an A+, but like they definitely played a really high-level game, and they kind of blew the Lakers out. To your point about Game 2, I mean, that might have even been like a C or C-, but there was that moment in the third and then in the fourth where it's like if the Wolves would have kind of gotten their head out between their legs, like they probably could have stole Game 2. But the Lakers did enough, and they have 2 really good closers. And then in 3 and 4, it's not like a fanboy thing. It's just I think about Game 4, and they come back from down 10, and they survive a 14-0 run in the third. But they shot at one point, I think they were like 3 for 17 in the paint. It was Rudy Gobert's lowest field goal percentage of the season. He was 1 for 6. I thought there was just, they had some sloppy turnovers. Julius played really well. It was the first time he hadn't turned the ball over in the playoffs in his career. But I think the Lakers found something with those 5 guys. The problem is that they, at some point, have to trust someone else off the bench. And I know you joke about Dalton Connect. I thought that too. But then it's like, imagine how the Wolves would pick on him on the offensive end if they got to him into a switch. So I think JJ is just going to go ultimate competitor here and just try to see if he can get another 46 and a half minutes out of Luka and LeBron. I'm a LeBron fan, and I've still been wrong basically every game, being like, he can't do that again. He can't give you 30. And his defense was phenomenal in game 4. Yeah. He did foul Ant. That shouldn't be for question. But if the Wolves through 4 games, so if the Wolves haven't fully played their best game yet, and they haven't really struck from 3 since game 1, and the Lakers are kind of running out of options, it does feel like, was it Star Wars, where the walls start coming in a little bit more if you're the Lakers. But again, I got to see it out. Like I'm really big on, I want to see them close it out. But I'm with you that one hot shooting night from the Wolves, especially in the first half, it's really going to be hard, even for LeBron and what he did a couple of years ago, being down 3-1 in the finals. It's going to be hard for them to muster the energy to try to dig themselves out from under this, because they just don't have a lot of other guys that JJ can trust right now in an elimination game.
I'm wrong a lot. I'm going to preface what I'm going to say right now by saying that I am wrong a lot. We do our Wednesday accountability sessions on Write That Down, where we make predictions and we keep track of percentages, and very rarely are we anywhere near batting 50% on our predictions.
You're taking the gorilla.
However, the 3 biggest takes that I've had in the last 6 months regarding the Timberwolves are, as I'm kind of writing them out here for memory refreshing, are that the Cat trade was a good trade for the Timberwolves, both short-term and long-term. That even when the Wolves were scuffling kind of, middle of the winter, and it's February, and you're trying to figure out if this team is good or not, I said, I still think this team is capable of going to the Western Conference Finals. And the third one was, despite everybody in the national media screaming from the hilltops that the Wolves are a great matchup for the Lakers, and it's going to be Lakers in 5 or 6, and we're already fast forwarding to the Warriors-Lakers Western Conference semifinals, that I don't know. I never coached NBA basketball, but the Wolves are better than the Lakers in almost every meaningful statistical category and measurement since the Luka trade. Kind of feels to me like Wolves in 6 or fewer. I don't know, Kyle. A lot of people called your boy an idiot here over the past 6 months for those 3 takes. And my inbox is open for apologies. This trade's been awesome. Julius Randle's been great in the series. DiVincenzo, even though he hasn't been making more than 35% of his shots, is everywhere on defense. He's an energy piece. If they close out the Lakers, I'm not going to guarantee a win over the Warriors, but you can definitely see a wide open path to the Western Conference Finals. And I'd be pretty shocked if this series went beyond 6 games. So just going to hop on my soapbox here for a minute and clap back after 6 months of people calling old Macadac an idiot. You don't know ball. Oh, I don't know. Maybe I do.
I think an idiot is the nicest thing a Laker fan's ever called me. Listen, we all have a lot of losses, and we do have some wins. 7 months ago, I think I said that come spring 2025, we would all look at Jaden McDaniels as being the second best player on the team. And boy, did I get some feedback on that. And
look at you. Let's take these. Let's take these bows.
Yes. If there's anything I need to apologize today, it's that you and I called him Diet Kawhi Leonard a lot, and that was just so stupid, because you can probably just take the diet out of it now, because he was their best player. I think in totality, Jaden has been their best player through all 4 games. Ant is still on another hemisphere as a talent, but Jaden to lead the team again in rebounding on Sunday night in game 4, while also just having to guard Luka that whole time. He had that situation with, I know the NBA ruled it a foul that they missed. I still don't really understand the stepping on the foot thing.
It's ridiculous.
But either way, he just hit timely threes. He had that one where he kind of Luka got hit and fell down, and then Jaden spaced to the corner, hit a 3, and had some not so pleasant words for the bench and for Luka. But that, and then And we'll see what happens. Again, I'm really, my parents never let me open up gifts before Christmas. Like, I'm not doing anything yet. I'm still very much next game at a time. Bill Belichick, old Bill Belichick, on to Cincinnati. But this Lakers team, my take was before the series, is that they're closer to the Suns of last year than they were to the Mavs. And that's not any shade on this Lakers team and how good LeBron has been, but I was comping it as like they have 3 players, right? And that's actually showing love for like a Bradley Beal last year. They have 3 guys. I don't think their roster totally works. They don't have a rim protector. They don't, like Dallas did, multiple rim protectors. They don't have any size up front like Dallas did. And I think when you look back at the Luka trade, and this has kind of gotten lost in the sauce a little bit just because it's LA and a big market and stuff. There are Lakers people who were at games 3 and 4 that I'm kind of friendly with, that their take was when the trade happened, Luka for AD and Max Christie, is like, if you've ever had a bunch, like your in-laws are in town and you have all this stuff to do for work, but someone's like, hey, I got these free, first row tickets to this concert tonight. Do you want to go? And like, I shouldn't, like, I have so much other stuff to do, but I just have to do this concert tonight and I'll figure out the rest of my life later. That's what the Luka trade felt like in the moment, and I feel weird that we haven't really discussed that more. It's like, when they got Luka, you looked at their roster and you're like, are they going to fit with LeBron? Well, that was dumb, but you also wondered, like, who's he going to throw the ball to on the baseline? Like, who was going to help defend the rim? Because and I think the Lakers had to do the deal because it was the greatest NBA trade of all time. But to set themselves up for the long term of like, we're going to figure it out this summer. We'll get the right pieces. Like, this is the time to get the Lakers right now. And I think the Wolves have embraced that. And I just think it's weird that wasn't really covered more nationally because, again, like, Luka's still been really good and LeBron has been otherworldly and Austin Reeves has become kind of a spot-up shooter, but they just don't really have other people to go to. Rui was 5 for 10 from 3 on game 4, and I don't think the Wolves were that concerned about it. I think they would say, we'll give him another 10 threes in game 5 and see if he can hit 50% of them. So, again, so far so good. You do need to close it out. You're trying to close out 2 of the best, I think, to ever do it. But the way the Wolves have handled this by taking every punch. You had a really good tweet the other night about the Lakers have tried this, they've thrown this, and the Wolves have always kind of absorbed it and then responded in a successful way. And the most successful way on paper is that in these final 4 minutes of these big games, I had a stat that in the final 6 minutes of game 3 and game 4, Luka and LeBron haven't scored. And like that is a Wolves defense paired with a pretty efficient offense to close it down. And we just didn't see that in the first 82 games.
Yeah, man, it's such a fascinating series for so many reasons. There's like the X's and O's tactical stuff that we've kind of woven in and out of, and JJ Redick deciding that there's only 5 trustworthy players that he feels good about putting out there. And then the Wolves kind of like, all right, we can live with some open looks for Rui Hachimura and even Austin Reeves. Like, they kind of gave him a bunch of open looks too.
Yeah.
To just make sure that Luka was accounted for and LeBron was too. So there's a million X's and O's things. But then there's also like the emotional, psychological warfare aspect of this series. And it kind of felt like going into last year's playoffs, the Wolves weren't quite sure what to expect going into the Phoenix series. I think they built up a confidence throughout the week because they got to prepare for 6 or 7 days and watch film. But they also knew that Phoenix team with 2 future Hall of Famers in Devin Booker and Kevin Durant whooped them 3 times in the regular season. So
yeah.
And there was no like reference points for Anthony Edwards winning a playoff series at that point, and that team as constructed or Carl, like it's not like they can lean on 15 years of dynasty like the Warriors when they go into a series against the Rockets or something. So they get a couple wins against the Suns. You start to see the confidence building. Okay, then they get into the Nuggets series, and that series was a roller coaster, but they weren't like fully validated yet as they were going through their playoff journey last year. And they ran into that Mavericks team with hyper confident Kyrie Irving with championship pedigree. Luka's never won a title, but like the dude wakes up and thinks he's the best offensive player in the world every court he steps on. And just the size and everything. And like the Mavericks firmly put the Timberwolves in their place, both on the scoreboard and I think the mental warfare game. But this time around, against this version of Luka and these Lakers that don't have a Gafford and a Lively to throw lobs to in the dunker spot, it has felt like the Wolves walked into this series knowing they were the better team. They've operated as such on the court, off the court. It's a very business-like approach to the series. And then Anthony Edwards and Jaden McDaniels and Julius Randle actively clowning Luka and LeBron. I mean, the stuff off ball that Anthony Edwards was doing to LeBron James just to send a message, as he explained after the game was over. Jaden McDaniels yelling at Luka while he's laying in the paint after Jaden hit that three-pointer in the corner. Get your ass up. Word I can't say on a podcast here.
Bozo.
Get your ass up, bozo. There's a mental warfare aspect of this that the Wolves have leaned into. They are not intimidated by the Lakers. They are not intimidated or impressed by LeBron James or Luka Doncic. And it's now flipped to the point where they are actively poking those bears, knowing that there's not really another gear to get to. We'll see. Like, it's still Luka and LeBron and the Lakers, and you got to close them out. But I think the Wolves have kind of won the mental chess match to this point in the series and do not feel like they are inferior. And Anthony Edwards does not feel like he is beneath Luka or LeBron in the NBA's pecking order.
I do think, and tell me if I'm wrong here, but I think you and I actually are still giving the Lakers a lot of, like, not hope to come back in the series, but a lot of, like, respect that if a team was going to do it, it's going to be led by those two guys. Like, it's
like Michael Myers. Like, you threw him off the balcony and you, like, stuck a stake through his stomach, but he's like Michael Myers. So
I think like even the betting markets, I think the Lakers are plus 350 to win the series, which is pretty wild because they're down 3-1, and like the Bucks are plus 1200, or I think the Rockets are plus 800. So they're still baking in the LA thing. But to your earlier point about poking the bear or being the aggressor, that's one of the things I kind of harken back to of nothing you just said should surprise anyone. Because like last year when there was a lot of pessimism going into the playoffs, I didn't agree with it, but I at least could understand it. It's like, it is the Timberwolves, and they've done nothing, right? Like, they've literally not won a playoff series in forever. I get it. They lost to this team 3 times in the regular season. But this time around, and if you watch Wolves-Lakers and then you watch Rockets-Warriors, it is a fascinating thing because the Rockets are that team that has done nothing, right? Like they're the 2 seed, just like the Wolves were the 3 seed last year, but they've never actually done anything, and they'll mix it up with you a little bit, but they don't actually have like the earned arrogance yet. Whereas like this Wolves team is coming off a Western Conference Finals run, and I like listening to Russillo, so he was on Simmons' pod the other day. I probably sound like Van Lathan, by the way, with all my breathing, but Russillo said he loves
I just got done listening to the first 30 minutes,
just like,
and Van Lathan needs to take a step back from the Russillo with the ocean behind him, too. I watched the YouTube version. Nice job, Ryan.
What Russillo said about the Ant and LeBron stuff is that at least Ant's kind of earned that ability to, like, kind of mix it up with these guys because he has eliminated Devin Booker and Kevin Durant, and he has eliminated Jokic and Jamal Murray. Whereas, like, Jalen Green's out here talking wild about Draymond, and it's like Draymond Green, like him or hate him, like, he made all the winning plays last night to help the Warriors go up 3-1. So this Wolves team, you should be shocked, even as a loyalist or as a fan, that they've been able to take their biggest Achilles heel in the first 82 games and switch it up to where they seem, knock on wood, like a team that you can trust in the last 4 minutes. That's awesome, but you shouldn't be shocked that they're fearless or that they have like an earned arrogance around them because they have kind of done this before. They have shut up and, silenced all the critics. And then lastly, on terms of like the Luka trade, how many months did it take us to finally accept that for Dante and Julius, it getting traded in this random moment, like it just took them a while to kind of feel part of the team? I know we all love, fantasy football or video games, but it's like there's a real human element to this that we just never talk about because we don't really see it. So if Julius and Dante took them months to find their own in this Timberwolves team, Luka was acquired on like February 9th. So like, I don't know if Luka feels like he's a Laker yet. Like, I think a lot of his game is still the precision of like, he's the best at making that last second read where it's like, oh my God, he's going to take a fadeaway jump shot. Just kidding, he threw a lob. but he just doesn't have that symmetry and that chemistry yet with a lot of his guys, other than maybe the smartest to ever do it in LeBron. So again, that's why I just come back to, I don't think this series, I said Wolves in 6. I don't think this series has been shocking to you, me, or the people that listen to Flagrant Howls. But on a national level, I think they just thought having the best player in the series is enough for my analysis. And it's like, you look around now and Giannis with the Bucks or some of the other teams, like, actually, man, the new CBA 2025, whatever you want to call it, like, it's not about having the number 1 pick in the top 10 draft. It's like, it might be about 2 through 9, and you did your top 10 players in this thing, and I think 7 of them were Timberwolves. To me, that's the story of this situation, because you're seeing one team have 7 good players, one have 3 good players, and the 3 good players are just really tired come the fourth quarter.
Yeah, and you could argue now, since I'll circle back on the accountabilities. I patted myself on the back for being right about 3 big picture things. I was wrong about my top 10 player rankings, because I had Anthony Edwards 3rd on that list. It was Luka Doncic 1, LeBron 2, just for 20 years of playoff savvy, flirting with a triple-double all the time, and then Ant 3. I mean, if you re-rank the 10 best players in the series right now through 4 games, top of my head, I know you said Jaden. I'm gonna go Anthony Edwards number 1.
That's totally fine. Yeah,
I'm gonna go LeBron in the series number 2.
Mm-hmm.
Probably Luka 3, but then it's like Jaden 4, Julius 5.
Terrence Shannon Jr. 6.
Where do you put Austin Reeves in the series? You could maybe fight for like 6th or 7th, but
yeah, he's been the most fascinating. And I actually like some people that cover the Lakers, and their big thing is they just don't think he's been involved enough in situations where he's not just a spot up shooter. I mean, I've always been amazed at the level of whistle he got in the regular season. That just hasn't translated to the playoffs, and I think some of it is the way he's being used. But again, you have Luka Doncic on the team. Even Kyrie learned this the hard way too. Like, you're just not going to get a lot of opportunities to really do your own cooking. It's going to be more about set up plays for you that Luka's going to have the ball a lot, and LeBron. So I've been kind of disappointed with Austin Reeves. I think Lakers fans would also say that they've been disappointed with his impact. I thought he had a good look in Game 4, by the way. It kind of goes understated that really could have shifted the narrative had he have just hit that shot. But again, and then defensively, he's given you nothing. So yeah, I don't know. I do kind of want to spin this into the next time we talk will probably be after Game 5 or 6, if it happens. What kind of adjustments do you think, if any? I think we know now the Lakers are just going to lean more into this 5-man lineup that spaces, maybe play shooters, maybe play no Jackson Hayes at all, maybe no Vando either. But do you think there's anything Finch does? Because again, we're talking about how the Wolves haven't really played a great game the last week or so. And to me, that means you have an opportunity for adjustments. Do you think there's any sort of adjustment where Rudy plays a little more in Game 5, plays a little less? I mean, there's a stat flying out there today, Phil, that you saw that the Wolves' best 5-man lineup by a mile offensively is, I think it's Ant, Dante, Jaden, Julius, and Nas.
Yeah.
And Dane reminded us that was the 5-man lineup that was the worst for the Wolves in the regular season. So they have a juicy kind of death lineup that they can play to counter what the Lakers do. But I'm still curious to see how Finch utilizes Mike Conley and Rudy Gobert in Game 5.
Yeah, if anything, I would lean into just a little bit less Gobert and Conley. I don't know that I'm changing the starting lineup, but Finch has shown that after 4 minutes he'll go away from one or both those guys in the first quarter and get quickly to Naz Reid and Dante DiVincenzo. Yeah, because of all the things we've talked about, one thing we haven't is the Timberwolves have been awful at the rim in the playoffs so far in the series. They're shooting. I mean, dude, they missed 15 shots at the rim in Game 4. And I know you're not gonna be perfect at the rim. League average, by the way, in the playoffs is about 65% shooting at the rim. So you make about 2/3. The Wolves are sitting at 53%. So call it, and they have the height advantage. With most lineups, they have the height advantage, and they're just just anecdotally, it's not like they're missing all these shots at the rim because they're being heavily contested, and the Lakers do a good job kind of packing into a defensive shell. But a lot of it's either bad rim luck or just lack of focus, or maybe expecting more contact than is there. So if the Wolves get a game where instead of shooting 53% at the rim and missing 15 shots, what if they only miss 6 shots at the rim? there's so many different ways that the Wolves can beat the Lakers by 15 points. I don't know that the Lakers have, outside of just a terrible shooting performance, but the Wolves already did that in game 2. The Wolves were 5 of 25 from 3-point range, and Lakers were still grinding that thing out in the last 4 or 5 minutes to try and make sure the Wolves didn't come back. So I'll throw it back to you from like a tactical standpoint. I wouldn't do a lot. Maybe there's a temptation to get Rudy involved more on offense. They've tried that a few times. This isn't like a downhill pick and roll Conley lob to Rudy type of a series, and you've still been able to win 3 of the first 4 games. So if anything, I would just keep leaning into Anthony Edwards, more Jaden McDaniels. If they're going to put Luka Doncic on Jaden McDaniels, all right, cook, go score 28 points. Just keep attacking him. And by the way, at the end of that game in the fourth quarter, part of it's because they weren't subbing. Luka was having a hard time when he would carry the ball up past half court, beating the 8-second violations. He was so tired, and Jaden McDaniels was hounding him. So I would trust that your depth, your conditioning, and just the versatility of different lineups and levers that you can pull, I wouldn't go crazy with any sort of major adjustments, even though you were losing by 10 points going into the fourth quarter of that game.
Again, feel free to clown me. I'd rather be clowned than have this sinus infection. But I am kind of trying to set barriers here of like, let's see how game 5 goes. But if you wanted to be hyper aggressive, I'm just going to throw some random stats at you. But like, Rudy averaged 12 points a game throughout the season. He's averaging 3.5 points a game in this series. I think Dante shot 40% even from 3 this year. He's shooting 21% from 3 this series. Nikhil shot 39% on the season from 3. He's shooting 21%, only played 12 minutes. So, yes, if you live in Southern California, you're probably saying if we can just get a little more from our bench or just have a super outer world performance from LeBron, maybe we can steal game 5. But back to the Wolves, it's like, I don't know if they've had 3 of their guys play really good basketball games. I mean, Mike has had a moment or two, which is like winning time. And I thought Rudy had, played a really good first half with the 7 offensive rebounds. But you're not going to say that either of those guys have had a good series. Mm-hmm. Kind of the same for Dante. He has 5 steals in game 4, 3 blocks in game 3. That's kind of what makes him such a fun utility player. But he hasn't had that one, I'm texting you in the third, hey, Dante has 5 threes. Like, I'm lit. So that's why I think there is still, and Finch uses this term, as we all do, a lot of meat on the bone still that
there is.
The message today at USC when this team is practicing going into tomorrow is they probably haven't thrown their final best punch as maybe they're falling down to the mat, but we've taken a lot of good punches and we haven't really thrown our best punch yet. And we know what that punch can look like. So I think game 5, as Ant said, every game now is the biggest game, but game 5 does open up a lot of possibilities. But if this Wolves team thinks everything that you just said about them, about they're the bear, then I would expect them to have a performance like we saw in Phoenix game 4 last year, where it's like, are you just happy being up 3-1 or 3-0, or are you going to try to close this right now? Because, as we learned the week off after the regular season, this team and this coaching staff and this training staff with a week off is pretty deadly. And I think that should also be on their minds as they keep one little eye towards who they could play in the second round.
Yeah. I think Ant loves this moment in a series where
for sure.
That Phoenix, it's a small sample size, but yeah, that Phoenix series where, man, are they going to show some life? And they did a little bit, but I think he loves this. I want one more thing here before we say goodbye.
I got one more for you too, but I want to close with it. So you go first.
Okay. Yeah, we don't have to do a ton on this, but Kendrick Perkins,
my guy,
put out my most the most fun take of the week, I feel like, for Timberwolves fans. He went on ESPN, I think it was this morning or maybe yesterday, and he said, hey, I would love to have played with Anthony Edwards in my career. That guy is a dog. He's a throwback. But the second part of his take was he thinks Anthony Edwards is going to win a championship before Luka Doncic does. He thinks Anthony Edwards is the better overall, more complete basketball player, and that he will win a championship before Luka Doncic does. Do you think he's right?
I think he's onto something because Ant has a couple of years on Luka, and Luka is still just if you were like building the franchise, right, doing the thing, I'm guessing you would probably still lean 51-49 Luka if everyone roster was clean and you're starting. But I think the Tim Conley factor, I think the Chris Finch factor, I think the depth that this team has built, the continuity they have, that factors into the NBA, as I just said earlier, is not about just having the best player on the team anymore. And if Luka's 51-49 a little ahead of Ant has all the other stuff, including only being 23. I mean, what's Ant going to look like at 26 where Luka is right now? Like, he could just be so much better. So I don't think Perk is wrong. Perk's my guy. I don't think he's wrong. And I think the Wolves, if they can close it out, whether it be on Wednesday or Friday, they're still, the Celtics look really good. The Cavs look really good. The Thunder swept the Grizzlies. But at some point, someone's going to have to look around and be like, we talk about Jokic that way, and we talk about Luka that way, and we talk about Shea that way. We have to start talking about number 5 the same way we talk about these other guys, because he is as good as the rest of them, but he's the youngest of the group.
Yeah. Yeah, I ran this by Judd and Dex, and it's, on one hand, Nico Harrison probably deserves to be fired. At the very least, if you've come to the organizational decision to part ways with a transformational talent like Luka Doncic, the least you can do is shop him in a high-profile way, behind the scenes at least. Leverage the hell out of his value and get the players you want and a bunch of picks and create a bidding war. So his process is fireable, period. New paragraph. And I can also see his point with Luka. Luka is, until he fixes it in the offseason, and you would have thought maybe like getting your ass run around by the Celtics in the finals and being completely out of gas trying to keep up with Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown hounding him from like the free throw line all the way to half court, like that you might get in chiseled shape. I don't know what it's going to take, but at the end of a 2-month playoff stretch, if you make it that far, they won't this year. If you can't be in elite tip-top shape and you don't play a lick of defense, I don't know how you're going to win a championship. Like, he's a crazy talent, but like, he's literally gassed getting the ball to half court at the end of game 4 of the first round. So I don't know.
And at some point, I mean, I've seen more Luka games that are crazy impressive than I've seen.
Totally.
Like, no offense, but bleep Nico Harrison just for making me have to go through this for the last week and a half. Because even when Luka is throwing up behind the scenes, he's still hitting 3-pointers with guys draped all over him. But yeah, I mean, it was Windhorse last year who kind of went viral in the finals when he just came out and said the elephant in the room was Luka Doncic just needs to be in better shape and give a damn on defense. And I thought it was really eye-opening that, I think it was yesterday, Zach Lowe basically did the same thing and kind of went viral being like, at what point do you take pride in not getting blown by? And if you watch these first 4 games, no matter who it is, I mean, it was Jaden early on, and then the Lakers switched to putting LeBron on Jaden in game 4. So then it was kind of Luka on Julius. And I think that's part of the reason why Julius, for the first time in his playoff career, had 0 turnovers. Because it was, as I called it, like the Super Mario star of just like, watch everything I do is just going to be better now because I'm getting guarded by Luka. So he is truly one of, and I don't remember the 60s and the plumbers that JJ Redick talks about, but he's one of the best offensive shot creators of all time. But I don't think that's enough anymore in the NBA. Like, you do need to play defense, or at least give some sort of effort on that side. And until he does it, until they find more guys like Dallas had, I mean, they had so many rugged, perimeter guys that could, PJ Washington, that they could throw out there. Until they either find the right mix or get the right mentality from Luka, there will probably be a little lower of a ceiling than we think. Because, again, the Lakers are going to be a better basketball team next season. Like, you bookmark that. But LeBron will also be 41. So when Luka's at like the peak of this, I don't know if LeBron's going to be on that team. And now all of a sudden you're talking about a team that's 3 good players, only having 2 good players.
Yeah. Well, they'll swap LeBron for Giannis at some point in the next 2 years. And then
Isn't it funny how stupid that sounds? But then you're also like, how do you tell a Lakers fan to not think that?
Yeah. I mean,
they got Luka for 14 cents.
And they got LeBron, and they got Pau to pair up with Kobe. They got Kobe for basically.
And they got Shake Milton. I think it's the illness. I want to see Game 5. If the Wolves can close out, eliminate LeBron and Luka, I imagine Thursday's pod, if we do one, will be really good. So I'm not going to comment on what Judd said earlier today on another episode of Flagrant Fouls, but I just want to say this. I fully agree. We're not gonna do details. I'm just saying what Judd said earlier today. Let's see how this plays out. But I have some real serious thoughts on that because I think Judd was onto something.
So do you want to revisit after this series or after the playoffs?
To me, it would be after this series if the Wolves can take care of business, because that would be something, if we're just being honest, and I didn't know this, and I should know this, but if they were to advance out of the first round, that would be, I think, only maybe the third time in franchise history that they've done that. Yes.
And Ant would be the centerpiece for two of those.
Okay. Just tracking.
I mean,
just tracking.
It started off as I think it was the first ever edition of Kyle's I'm Just Asking the Question like a year ago, and now it's taking on maybe some roots in reality.
We'll put a pin in it and talk about it later. I should also close with this because you and I have been very good about sharing our personal stuff on this pod. I think I speak for you. Former Timberwolves alum, didn't end on the greatest of terms, but I still have fond memories. Just shout out to Kevin Love and everything that he's going through. You've talked about losing your dad. I can't imagine what he's going through right now. He was pretty open about it. He's always been open about mental health and personal stuff and showing his emotions, and I think we need more of that from major influential people like athletes. But that's a tough one when you lose your dad early. So a lot of love out to the Love family, because out here in Oregon as well, it's kind of struck a chord with how much he meant in the community in Lake Oswego and stuff. So Kevin Love, once a Timberwolf, always a Timberwolf.
I think, agreed, amen. And yeah, I lost my dad 2.5 years ago. It's super tough. I will say this about Kevin Love. I'd love to see his final year. I don't know if he's up for this. I'd love to see him in the Joe Ingles role in a Timberwolves uniform whenever he decides we're getting real close to like the end of Kevin Love's career. Would he ever play veterans minimum, 15th guy on the roster, once in a while, bring him in for a little outlet pass, bring him into garbage time, that Joe Ingles role? Would you be down for that?
Just use like $2.1 million, the vet min on flossers. Because anytime I see Joe Ingles, he has a flosser in his mouth. That would be a great way. I mean, I would imagine, not even imagine, I expect that when new ownership fully takes over this thing, that they will put an emphasis on trying to bring back former Timberwolves players to build up the brand.
Yes.
I think there are players that have been here before that want to be part of this organization again, that just don't want to mess with whoever was in charge at a certain time. So that would be great. Just like a once a week Kevin Love on the baseline, watch him just outlet this pass to the other free throw line for an Ant 0.5 second shot.
Oh my gosh, dude.
Yeah, you and I we should work on that. That's a really good idea. I like that.
We'll do some back channeling. We're gonna make this thing work. So all right, go rest up, go get some tea, go get some honey, and we'll see if the Wolves can close this thing out in Los Angeles, Game 5. If you haven't already, click that like button and the subscribe button on the Score North YouTube channel. Thank you guys, man. So the post-game audiences are absolutely wild after these games. You can find Kyle, too, on Dame Moore's NBA podcast on a regular basis. If you want more Kyle, you can get him on both podcasts. And, give us a 5-star rating and a positive review on the Flagrant Howls Apple and Spotify pages to help us keep growing this thing, too. For Kyle, I am Phil, and this is a Timberwolves Lifestyle Podcast.